customers.
Try the newest, cheapest, and fastest delivery na express service. Introducing Moto Express PH. You can now leave your shopping and delivery needs with us without much exposure and interaction to people outside. Mapa-grocery items, medicine, foods, and other essentials and halal certified products, kami na ang mamimili at maghahatid sa'yo. Sinisigurado na ligtas, in good and quality condition ang mga pabili o orders sa delivery service na iyong i-avail. Para sa maayos at mabilis na delivery at order mo, ipamoto mo na. Download Moto Express PH app through Google Play that is built to deliver beyond your expectation. Tara na dito sa Moto Express. Dahil moto mo to.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, and good noon to our dears and brothers also in humanity. I am Elenida Jess of Cebu, and today, we will be learning with I will be learning with you for this our episode of Batas at Shari'ah, a regular program of Shari'ah counselor Nor Hernandez. I would like to express my gratitude to the Global Pinas TV 168 team, Pres Ismail Abaya Majaraha, to Sharia Counselor Nor Hernandez, to Director Zeno Martinez, and to Assistant Director Carl Vin Ross for this opportunity to share some of my knowledge on PD 1083. Greetings of salam also to my beautiful sister in faith, Sister Mariam Kuder, Sister Khadija Padrigoni, Sister Aisha Kaziri, Sister Doc Anna Marcelita Shakil, and those who are sisters in Islam, especially those who are residing in Cebu, Sister Nur Edding, Sister Nurjana, Sister Aisha Noor of Toledo, Sister Rowena, Sister Calatrava, Sister Kupida also of Calatrava. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The rationale of having this Sharia program is to educate the Muslim Filipinos, particularly the Balik Islam, on the provisions of our civil code of the Philippines, as well as the code of Muslim personal laws of the Philippines and other related Islamic laws. To my brothers and sisters in Islam, as Muslims, we must be people of fairness. And to be one, we must always be aware and act according to, just like prescribed in the Civil Code in Article 3. Ignorance to the laws excuses no one from compliance therewith. And in Article 19 of Republic Act number 386, every person must, in the exercise of his rights and in the performance of his duties, act with justice, give everyone his due, and observe honesty and good faith. Deliberately ignoring this advice is like putting us at risk. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us always. And in today's episode, I will be sharing with you some of the provisions of PD 1083. Inshallah, I'll be joined in by Sister Mariam Kuder of Bacolod. This property relations between spouses is found in Section 6 of PD 1083. For the Muslim couple, of course, we must know how the properties are governed. In Article 37, this defined how your properties be governed. The property relations between husband and wife shall be governed in the following order. A, by contract before or at the time of the celebration of marriage. In paragraph B, by the provisions of this code, meaning the PD 1083 or the Code of Personal Muslim Personal uh, the Code of Muslim Personal Laws of the Philippines, and C, paragraph C, by custom. So, my dear brothers and sisters, in Islam, it's very clear in PD 1083, Article 37, that the property relation between the couples or the husband and wives is governed by this provision, of which there is what we call an order, of which what comes first is that by contract before at the time of the celebration of marriage, and secondly, using the provisions in this code, and lastly, by custom. And what about the system of management of the properties? Of course, there are cases by which both husband and wives have their real estates, as we have identified our previous sharing, that the real properties could be movable or immovable. So, what is the system of management? In Article 38, this is the regime of property relations. The property relations between the spouses. In the absence of any stipulation to the contrary in the marriage settlements or any other contract, shall be governed by the regime of complete separation of property in accordance with this code and in the suppletory manner by the general principle of Islamic law and the civil code of the Philippines. When we say regime, this means the system of management. So in PD 1083, it is clear that the regime of property relation, the property relations between the spouses in the absence of any stipulation to the contrary in the marriages settlements or any other contract shall be governed by the regime of complete separation of property. I hope this is clear that if Muslim couples have their properties, the regime is complete separation of property. So it's clear, it's complete separation of property. Of course, in accordance with this code and in suppletory manner. When we say suppletory manner, this refers to when applicable. Okay, in Article 39 also, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, this talks about the regime of uh, the stipulation in the marriage settlements. Every stipulation in the marriage settlements or contract referred to in the preceding article shall be void and without effect whatsoever should the marriage not take place. However, stipulations that do not depend upon the contract of marriage shall be valid. Of course, my dear brothers and sisters, I am just sharing with you the provisions that pertains to the property relation between spouses. I don't have the capacity to interpret this to you, but of course, if you need the expertise of our Sharia counselor, we have a lot of Sharia counselors spread throughout our country, or you may contact our Sharia counselor Noor Hernandez to give you explanation with regards to this Article 39, which is on stipulation in the marriage settlements. And inshallah, if I am giving for example, some statements here which are not in the provisions in our PD 1083, those are just my opinion, and those does not replace any legal advice. In Article 40 also of the PD 1083, this is anti-nuptial property. The wife shall not lose ownership. Please take note to my dear sisters. You will not lose your ownership of whatever property you bring into the marriage. Okay? So the wife shall not lose ownership and administration of all properties brought by her to the marriage in the absence of any written agreement to the contrary. And she may dispose of the same by deed or otherwise even without the consent of her husband. In my opinion, even if in the absence of any written agreement, it is assumed that you have the rights, the full rights over your property, and you have the rights to dispose this or to administer your property. However, you may like it to be administered, of course. And then you may dispose, you may you have the right to sell it, of course, in line with the provisions of PD 1083 and also with the civil code of the Philippines. You could not also, as of course, whatever properties or real estate that you have, make sure that these are with proper documents. When we say proper documents, is that there is really a proof of ownership on that properties that you claim to be yours. For example, this could be proven by the certificate of title uh, or the transfer or the TCT, transfer of certificate title. So with this, of course, you have the rights to dispose of your property. Without these legal documents, of course, that would be if, for example, you dispose of that property without these legal documents, that would be contrary to whatever is stipulated, especially in Republic Act. I think it's 9. This is Republic Act 90. Wait, I'm checking on my notes. 9646. 9646 talks about these are about real management of the real estate. Okay, so as I have mentioned that you can dispose your property with your proper documents. And of course, when you bring this into your marriage life, you have sole rights to dispose. And if also you want, for example, you have a structure or a building and you want this to be rented, you have the full right for this to be rented. Okay, so of course, you may dispose of the same by deed. So there is a deed, there is a written contract, or otherwise, even without the consent of the husband. No need to ask approval from your husband. And this is the good thing that you have to remember also that with the provisions of PD 1083, as a wife having those properties, could be movable or immovable, you don't need to ask the approval of your husband. Of course, with due respect also to your husband, you can inform your husband. You can tell your husband that you are planning to dispose of your property. Okay. Of course, there must be respect also between husband and wife. In Article 41, this talks about the exclusive property of each spouse. the following shall be the exclusive property of either spouse. And we have to remember that in the first paragraph, this talks about the properties brought to the marriage by the husband or the wife. So, what could be these properties that you brought into your marriage life? These are considered your exclusive property. When we say exclusive, you have the right to enjoy the fruits of this. You have the right to, for example, you have the right to fence your lot. You have bundles of rights which are stipulated in related laws with regards to ownership of your property. And in paragraph B, all income derived by either spouse from any employment, occupation, or trade. I think this is good news for everyone, especially the Muslim brothers or sisters, that whatever income that you get from your employment or from your occupation or from any trade, that is considered as your exclusive property. And you have rights on whatever way or however you want this to be spent, to how much would you like to save for future needs, how much would goes, for example, to expenses for the house and whatever decisions or whatever plans you have in mind. Okay, in paragraph C of this Article 41 of PD 1083, any money or property acquired by either spouse during marriage by lucrative title. In my opinion, this lucrative title means this produces money or wealth. Okay. In paragraph D, the doer mahar of the wife and the nuptial gifts of its spouse. Our sisters in Islam, whatever doer you receive, whatever gifts or no, nuptial gifts that you receive during your marriage life, that is your exclusive property. If you want to give it, for example, to your mom, to your sister, you have the right over this. Of course, that is your exclusive property. Whatever that would be spent, um, that is your right. And that's the good thing in our deen. As women, we have this full rights over our property, and also with the doer that we receive or that you receive during your marriage ceremony. In paragraph E of Article 41, PD 1083, properties acquired by right of redemption, purchase, or exchange of the exclusive property of either are your exclusive property, my dear brother or sister. So properties acquired by right of the redemption. And what do we mean by right of redemption? Okay, I have some notes here. Of course, we can search this online. Right of redemption in the law of real property. This is the right of the debtor whose real property has been foreclosed upon and sold to reclaim. So, for example, you have mortgaged your property to a bank, and it so happened you were not able to pay whatever is due to the bank, and the bank had informed you that your property or your estate is to be foreclosed. Still, you were not able to comply the requirements of the bank, and as debtor, you had this right of redemption, meaning uh, whatever property has been foreclosed. upon and sold to reclaim. So when, for example, you're able to reclaim such property that you have, that property that has been foreclosed by the bank, of course, uh, there is this provision in our Republic Act, I think 9646, that there is a specific term or year by which you can redeem your property. I think if I'm just I may be correct, you can redeem this within 1 year. Okay, of course, we can check on this on the internet. And lastly, on paragraph 8, all fruits of properties in the foregoing paragraphs. So whatever properties that we have identified from paragraph A to paragraph F in this article 41, these are your exclusive property. Before I proceed to the next article, I think I've read Sister Sister Aya, I think, greeting salam to me. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sister. Yeah, Sister Nur Mariam. Thank you for watching, Sister Mariam. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope we will be learning with each other as we go along. And of course, to our viewers, especially our new viewers, this program talks about what are the provisions found in PD 1083, which means this is the laws or the PD 1083 is a decree or to ordain and promulgate a code recognizing the system of Filipino Muslim laws, codifying Muslim personal laws, and providing for its administration and other purposes. For our new viewers, I hope you would take time to listen to what are these provisions that I am sharing with you. Of course, I am sharing with you this property relation between spouses. And I am also encouraging everyone, especially my Muslim brothers and sisters, that please share our videos. We have a lot of videos. We have been discussing several provisions from our PD 1083. I hope that these videos are beneficial to everyone and to reach out to our Muslim brothers and sisters, especially the Balik Islam. Kindly share this to your timeline or tag your friends on this video so that they will also be educated on our what are the laws governing our lives. Of course, as Muslims, we must have to understand and we have to know that we have certain obligations also. Not only that we focus on the religious side, but as as citizens of the Philippines, we have to consider our rights. We have also to consider the rights of others, as well as to create a better society of which we are living in. And by sharing with our Muslim brothers and sisters, or even to non-Muslim brothers and sisters, this video that we are having, we hope that this will educate the masses, and thereby there would be clear understanding on what acts, what actions that are in line with our laws, Islamic laws, and what are contrary. So whatever are contrary to our laws, Islamic laws, as well as the Civil Code of the Philippines, of course, we should avoid in doing such act because the law is very harsh, and no one is really above the law. Ignorance to the law excuses no one, as we have been talking about, especially this is in Article 3 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, that ignorance to the law excuses no one. So, whenever we commit acts which are contrary to the law, the court would not excuse us from not learning those provisions or laws that we must be familiar with. Okay, let's proceed. In Article 42, this talks about the ownership and administration. Each spouse shall own, possess, administer, enjoy, and dispose of his or her own exclusive estate, even without the consent of the other. So it's very clear, my dear Muslim sisters, for those who have their properties or their real property or real estate. I think with this provision on this Article 42, you have no more doubts anymore on how this ownership and administration would be taking place. So you have a spouse shall own. Well, if you have enough money or money in excess, you can buy property of which you're planning, for example, to have it to be farm, or you can construct building for your business. If, for example, you want to be into real estate practice, you want to become a realtor, you want to have this structures be rented, be for lease, or be rent to own to anybody, you that property that you buy is purely your property, or you have exclusive ownership on that property. Of course, when we say possession, by law, you have the right to possess that property, to administer whatever plan you have for such property, for such estate. You can administer on this. Of course, if, for example, you are in other country and you have, of course, your physical presence is not in the Philippines, and you have some properties here, you have estate here, you can assign anybody, uh, of course in line with the law, you can assign anybody to administer your property. And it's good, my dear brothers and sisters, that whatever plans we have must be put into writing, and that as much as possible with regards to properties or estate, this must be notarized by a notary public, lawyer, or whoever, or Sharia counselor, for example. So that is to protect your property, and that, of course, you have also to register your property to the right agency, for example, in the register of deeds. And of course, before you buy property, you need also to what we call, there is what the phrase that due diligence. Before buying a property, you must know that if the property is really owned by the seller. You can check, for example, the papers or the documents that the seller is presenting to you. Check, for example, the title and the tax declaration. Of course, if you can see that the name that appearing in the title of that property or that estate, as well as so the name appearing in the tax declaration should match. If in case there is a mismatch on the names found on the PCT or of the property or the estate with that the tax declaration, then you should be cautious in spending your hard-earned money. Better be safe than to be sorry, my dear sisters or brothers. And that is my advice, especially when you want to purchase or buy any properties that's looks very potential for a business. I would like to share also, especially to our dear brothers and sisters, whenever you plan to purchase or buy a property, when, for example, a property is offered to you, but only on tax declaration, uh, please be wary. Please, as much as possible, there should be the proof of ownership on that property. Do not just rely on the whatever document that is presented to you, like on a tax declaration. I would not advise you to buy property with only tax declaration, because in our country anybody can pay taxes to a property. But with regards to proof of ownership, it should be given proof with this TCT, or transfer of certificate title. If we're talking about condominium unit, for example, you are planning to buy condominium unit or units, there should be this the I think that is the CTC, condominium certificate title. I hope I am right. Okay, so there should be proof of ownership on whatever property you are going to own or to purchase. Okay, going back to Article 42, which is the ownership and administration. Of course, whatever property you have, you can administer it, or if not, you can assign anybody, but make sure there is what we call the proper legal documents. You can ask your lawyer how this be done. And of course, with that property, with that exclusive property you have, you can enjoy that property. If, for example, you want to beautify this, of course, upon fencing, you want to have it landscape beautifully with all the money, excess money that you have, you can do such, and you can have this privilege or the rights to enjoy your property, as well as, of course, you can dispose. When we say dispose, you can sell it to anybody. But I think in our law, mm, this is just my opinion. I think you cannot sell your property to your wife, or a Muslim husband. You cannot sell your property to your for a Muslim sister. You cannot sell your property to your husband. Of course, that is my opinion. You can check whatever provisions in the Civil Code of the Philippines or other related law on this, and also with PD 1083. My opinion does not represent any legal advice. Okay, so yes. However, in the second paragraph of this Article 42 of PD 1083, however, the court may, upon petition of either spouse, grant to the other the administration of such property. Okay, so this is the answer. That means if you want your spouse have the rights, or I think the right or the privilege, I don't know which the right term to use, to administer such property, it must be upon petition of either spouse. Okay? So there must be proper venue, proper authority to determine that a certain spouse has been given the right to administer such property. But probably the cases or situation by which administration of a property is delegated or is given to a spouse could be, in my opinion, is that the wife or the husband is in other country, or that let's say the husband is I am using the term prodigal, um, para bang in our dialect that is magas, para bang he spends the money without thinking on the consequence, or what would happen if the um, without any reservation. Okay, so probably that can be used if the husband is prodigal, meaning magastos siya. He has no control over his money. Then the wife can, in my opinion, petition the court and ask the court that she be given the rights to administer that property. Of course, my dear brothers and sisters, with regards to what I have been sharing with you on this issue, on if, for example, either of the spouse is prodigal, you can ask the attorney or the Sharia counselor for the proper interpretation on this second statement of PD Article 42 of PD 1083. And then in Article 43, the household property. Household property which customarily pertains to or is used by either spouse shall be prima facie presumed to be the property of said spouse. Prima facie means evidence of first instance. I could not expound more on this. Of course, of attorney or Sharia counselor can give us a clearer interpretation or definition of these prima facie terms. And let's proceed to Article 44. Article 44 of PD 1083. This is the right to sue or be sued. The wife may, independently of the husband, sue or be sued in the following cases. So, what are these cases? We have in our Article 44 five um, paragraphs. In paragraph A, when the litigation is between husband and wife. Litigation means this is by the court or ordered by the court. And in paragraph B, if the suit concerns her exclusive property. In paragraph C, if the litigation is incidental to her profession, occupation, or business. When we say incidental, that means in connection. So if the litigation is in connection or incidental to her profession, occupation, or business. In paragraph D, if the litigation concerns the exclusive property of the husband, the administration of which has been transferred to her. And in the last paragraph, that is paragraph E, such other appropriate cases as may be followed by the general principles of Islamic law and other laws. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, what we are learning today is on the property relation between spouses. I would go read over the articles that I have discussed with you in Article 37. How is this governed? Of course, there are three ways that these are governed. The, the property relation between the husband and the wife are governed in three manners. By contract, that is in paragraph A, by contract before or at the time of the celebration of marriage. And in paragraph B, It is by the provision of this code, we are referring to PD 1083, and by custom. And in Article 38, this is the regime of property. When we say regime, this is referring to the system of management. So in Article 38, regime of property relation, the property relation between the spouses in the absence of any stipulation to the contract in the marriage settlements or any other contracts shall be governed by the regime of complete separation of property. Of course, in accordance with this code and in the suppletory manner or that is applicable by the general principle of Islamic law and the civil code of the Philippines. Let's not forget that as citizens of this country, we are bound by the civil code of the Philippines. So whatever property relations that we have, always bear in mind that our rights and our obligations are always attached with these laws that I have been mentioning. In Article 39, the stipulation of the marriage settlement. And of course, in Article number 40, antinuptial property. In Article 41, exclusive property of each spouse. And I would like to reiterate or read this. What are these exclusive property of each spouse? A. The properties brought to the marriage by the husband or the wife. So, because, for example, you have been so industrious enough that before your marriage, you have purchased a real estate or properties. You have bought a car, you have bought a house and lot, or other properties that you bring into the marriage life, those are still considered your exclusive property. So if that is the case, that means you have the right to own, to dispose, to enjoy, for example, to administer, and whatever provisions that are stated in this PD 1083 are really for 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 your benefit. Okay? So in paragraph B, all income derived by either spouse from any employment. Now, of course, in the Philippine settings, um, there are cases or there are couples of which only the wife is earning or having the income. And it is really sad to note that this is happening to majority of the families we have in the Philippines. And of course, these are, I would say, in my opinion, for whatever reason, uh, you could share, of course, but I would like to advise also for those men, Muslim men, who are planning to get into the marriage life, just like what I have told to my son. Unfortunately, he did not listen to me. Uh, may Allah forgive him. That I told him that before you get into marriage life, as much as possible, prepare for your family. So to my Muslim brothers, please, if you ever you are planning to get into the marriage life, whatever situation you have now, please do something. Prepare for your family. As much as possible, there is really a place where you can bring your wife after the marriage celebration or the marriage ceremony. You have, you can have food. You have money to bring to buy food for your family. You have money to give education to your children. You have money for everything, for whatever your family needs. So this is really a sisterly advice, and I hope our time has been fruitful. And to our next episode, inshallah, I hope you will be learning with me. And to my brothers and sisters, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for watching.